morning in the news this morning. Hello, beautiful people. I cracked the code. I figured out one of the most important parts of the whole shenanigan. There we go. What do you say, Slim3301? There we go. So it turns out that of all the ideas that I've had, a not great one has been to render things at 2160p just to make them super small. That used up a lot of resources. In fact, if you guys try flooding the chat, we'll see. Hold on, let me see. I guess we have to check that the whole five nations are showing up. Let's start with x.com/wood/live. Test checking in, test checking in, test checking in. There we go, that's one. And then let's double check over in the realm of Scam Nation. Check. That's another one there. Beautiful. And then what I'm not seeing, I don't think. Yeah, Dylan Theus preserves the crown. Top dog. House of Films TV. Okay, that's another great. So we are not seeing anybody from Twitch just yet, which is weird because normally Twitch is the fastest on the draw. We'll see. There it is. Kelly Taylor. Nicely done, sir. Which realm are you checking in from? If it's Modern Rogue, then I don't have to worry about checking that. We got a mystery afoot, people. We're going to solve a mystery. We're going to tease a new format. Maybe not a new format. And actually, it's a way of doing an entirely different type of show. Oh, you know what? I'm realizing, I do believe. Here, let's just remind everybody at home. One of our frustrating shenanigans is that there is some phantom program that keeps on turning down my mic levels. And you can see here while I'm talking, the VU meter right here. If I talk, it barely hits that tippy top green. That's usually an indication that, here we go. That's usually an indication that somebody tweaked a knob. And by somebody, I mean a program. So what I have to do is I have to right click on the sound settings, open up sound settings. There's sound settings right there. I have to go over to sound control panel because that's a fun place to hide it. I have to go over to this sub menu. I have to scroll all the way down to see playback is fine. There we go. There's the Rodecaster Pro 2 main multitrack. Then I get to double click on that. And then I get to go to the third tab in levels, which should be set at 54, but something tells me, yep, some damn program cranked that down. And now, how does that sound? Is that better? What a bizarre curiosity. What a lovable shenanigan. There we go. G. James B. All is right with the world as Twitch has shown up. Oh, yeah, it's Adam. Ooh, you beat G. James B. G. James B., are you already back from your Sunday gig? If so, how did it go? If so, how did it go? What do you say, Kelly Taylor? Oh, right on. Okay, so Kelly Taylor's over in Scam School. What do you say, Astro Guy 8210? So I am just going to assume that Dylan was in from Modern Rogue. Actually showed up to office hours today. Hold on. Weekends, we get to be a little bit slippery. Office hours get to be a little bit... I hope you're not holding me to account for missing Saturday morning, because I'll have you know it was a very productive day. Indeed. Actually... there we go. Excellent. G. James B. is out and about taking care of business. So we've got, well, here, let's kind of go over the agenda. I don't know which order to hit it in. You guys were there when we talked about starting up a zine. I do have updates on that. Actually, we'll start with that. Oh my gosh, Business Jim. Hello back to Thailand. That's fantastic. Very cool. That is pretty surreal, right? The fact that everything's global. Although I suppose that's old hat to anyone in the ham radio business. Hello from Thailand with the Diamond Club symbol. Our secret sigil. Excellent, excellent. No, Kelly Taylor, 23. I have wonderful news for you. You have stumbled into a greater world. And to be honest, that's, I think they charitably call it discovery content. There's content that's meant to kind of go out to the world. Well, here, let me get a little bit galaxy brain, hippie Brian here, right? A lot of people get confused and they want to curse the algorithm as though it has any kind of sentience or a motivation or it cares about things. Ultimately, I find that it helps a lot to think of the marketplace of ideas. Basically, origin of the species, except with brands and thoughts and ideas. And just as Charles Darwin thought in terms of a tree of life, where you got, fungus and algae over here, plants over here, insects over here. Instead, you have different types of YouTube content, right? You got thinky talky, you got action based, you got trends or memes or a comedy branch or whatever. And basically, as they continuously diverge, there are some underserved markets. For example, there's probably people who are more diligent about teaching magic tricks, but they also don't answer questions like these and share their philosophical wisdom from the ages. And so as a result, I personally adore that YouTube is constantly shaking things up. If you ever look at your sidebar, your recommended feed, you got your video right here. And then you got For You recommended down the side. Almost universally, you're going to have about 1/3, strangely, is going to be new and relevant. And then another third is going to be old stuff that you either intended to get around to or might want to watch again. And then it's going to throw some WTF. And that WTF is nothing but experiments. Sometimes it's maybe you fit the demographic of somebody who might like this. Maybe it does a little bit of algorithmic looking at what's covered and takes the best guess about pitching it to you. Sometimes it is just the randomest roll of the dice because if we think about it genetically, right, origin of the species, that's exactly the way you highly diversify, always diverging, so that basically you're able to pick the winners and the losers and find congruence. Oh, wonderful. So in your case, Kelly, by being one of the blessed, the best of the best, the hallowed ones, even if Brian's going live to hold office hours, by the way, if you're new here, office hours, I make no promises. This is not a show. This is a public service. Just like if you ever went to university, your college professor would have a few hours a week where he's going to do whatever it is he's going to do. You're just welcome to pop in and ask questions. That is what I am doing in order to have conversations with Kelly Taylor 23. So answer me this, Kelly. I'd love to hear, how did the show get on your radar, and what are you up to these days? What's a project that you're working on that you're really interested in? Also, hello, Logan Wiley, 6740. Good to see you. And I suppose, in the meantime, I can double-check these. Oh, this is a shot for a call-in. Ooh, and it's double doing test. Yeah, that's not great. So it should be... interesting. So let me remove one of these layers. It'll be, nope. There we go. Okay, there we go. Hello, Pyrus Burton. Picris Burton. Boy, I screwed that one up. Yeah. Okay, well, let me share with you guys some behind the scenes inside baseball that I think you're going to like quite a bit. First off, there we go. Excellent. So as some of you guys know, I've been doing YouTube for a minute. And but it's only been the last couple of years that I've actually paid attention to the day-to-day of the weeds of YouTube. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Buried the lead there, Kelly Taylor. You want to spill some tea on the house fire that happened? You can give us that in just a second. But in the meantime, I'm about a year and a half into deeply paying attention to the, what do you call it? The day-to-day of the YouTube algorithm. And so let's go behind the scenes here real quick. Because we got a runner. We got our first certified bona fide hit. And it is, you know what? Let me tidy up my face here. Let's see. There we go. Edit this. Let me crop myself on the face over here. Pan it. There we go. That seems better, more courteous. And then we'll go to the fake Tom down here. Let's pan it off to the right. And then we'll just give it a little crop. There we go. Okay. Good. I'm glad to hear that, Kelly Taylor. I would imagine that's... How bad of a house fire was it? It's pretty scary. So in this case, we went from our kind of daily, not really doing anything grind of 84 to 133,000 per day to over 1 million a day. And so the first thing I do is I like to... Let's pan fake Tom even farther over here. There we go. So the first thing I like to do is understand why. What's happening? Who's doing what? So as you guys know, the real-time view, the exercise that I'm doing when I look at the real-time graphs is I want to break it down into numbers of humans that I can comfortably wrap my mind around so that I can understand exactly why things are happening the way they're happening. Oh, get out of here. Is this really... Sorry, guys. This is going to drive me a little bit batty. Okay. I think that was it. I got to generate a bunch of fake messages so I can see. There we go. And then I'll just crop. There. That's probably not exactly right, but that's fine. Yeah, close enough. So in this case, if you want to understand what's happening, if you look at the last 48 hours, 1 million, that's too much to wrap your mind around. The closest I could do to that is basically imagine 1 minute, for example, the 1 minute long I did on the Tonight Show, right? I could conceive of 2 million people having caught it in that moment, and that, whatever that impact is what I can imagine this being. In the last 60 minutes, you get a much more useful understanding of it because now we're down to 60,000 people. Picture, that would be, for me, it would be like picture a totally full arena when I was on tour with Brooks and Dunn, Rascal Flatts, Brad Paisley, right? And 1 minute, and again, these are views, not minutes, but I know it's a 1 minute long short. So picture people half paying attention for a 1 minute showcase on on an audience that big. This I have no control over outside of, especially because I'm not going to change the title. I'm not going to change the thumbnail. Whatever it is currently being algorithmically pushed. But all of these other guys hold clues as to things I can control or do something about. For example, After clicking this, 60,000 people move on to the next one. So I'm going to look at this, the greatest prank ever, and this will reveal some clues as to why this other one exploded. So this is one that already had its pop back in the day, but you can see it's also having a resurgence, 60,000 views in the last 48 hours. So most likely people are onboarding with that one currently popular video. Oh, this is great. Yeah, we'll explain again. We explain every time, but we're going to explain it again. Welcome to Office Hours. If you've ever been to university, your college professor sometimes does stuff he's going to do anyway, but you're welcome to sit in and join. Ask questions. It's an easy way to get a free letter grade ahead. There we go. I'd hate to be that guy. But let me guess, something you feel aggrieved and put upon that you aren't getting exactly what you want. That's okay. Back to this. So what we want to do is we want to look at what was the anatomy of this previous short. This is the important one. 82%, 83% stayed to watch. That's your engagement rate. So basically, it shows up what number of people linger. They can't quite bring themselves to pass on to the next one, which means something very, very interesting happened at the beginning. And then what you look for is you look for drop-offs on here. And in this case, this one was pretty much a table, but here's the important part. If I want to know relatively why this new one is popping, then this previous known hit is at 67%. 67% of the people make it to the end. Oh, which means now we have something to compare it to. Beep, bop, boop. Go back. I don't love how this is arranged, but that's fine. So now let's compare it to this one. So we had 83% stick around. Well, thank you. Oh my goodness, it's Tom Singer. Tom Singer, do you want to do coffee today? That would be amazing. I'm free like after 4 or 5 o'clock. But so here's what we want: is we want to know. First thing you're going to look for is engagement. All right. Now this number is the only one that'll show on desktop. Here's a trick, because you'll get a different set of numbers if you use the mobile app. I'll show you what I mean. In this case, if I go, here we go. Same tab, engagement on desktop, all it does is give you the average. But if you look at engagement on the mobile app, it tells you over time. There we go. Oh, there we go. Over time. So even though on the desktop, it says that it's 76%. Oh, I definitely screwed that up. Engagement. You can see the exact moment that for a brief while, I should really have a camera set up for that. For a brief while, it was 78%. There we go. Nope. I don't think it's going to do it. But the important thing is that you get different metrics from different peaks in there. So in general, for a mega hit that sustains, you want like an 80% engagement. And then, so we're a little bit below that. However, if we let's look at the retention data. There we go. This is like a flat table all the way to the end. 71%, 70% made it to the end, which is very high all across the board. Also, there's a new feature on there. You could literally just talk to the algorithm and ask it to compare this video to other ones. And what that gives you is that gives you a sense of what to expect from this one going forward. But, and of course, you can't affect what the algorithm's already doing. You can only affect how you're going to react to it. So here's an important thing. Check this out. How to Win the Ring Toss at the Carnival is the one that's popping. It's almost identical to how Carnival 3 free throw games are rigged. But that one did not pop, although it's doing a nice second bounce here. And so again, we want to look at the engagement. Now, notice what a difference. 73% instead of 76% is part of the reason that it didn't pop. However, what accounts for this bounce here is the fact that this is the tagged related video. So if you finish that first one, the ring toss, and you want more of that, then you click on the related video. It doesn't take you to a long form video. It takes you to another short, this short. And then at this point, now you've spent a second minute getting it, only this time the related video is not another short. This time the related video is, if you've spent 2 full minutes going through, then it wants to court you, or I say it, I set up a thread where I want to direct you to, okay, if somebody's watched 2 of these Carnival related shorts, what is a thing that they probably want to see next? And here we go. This, what happened to all of Blockbuster's tapes? That one had pretty much already run its course. You can see it had totally flatlined here, but by virtue of being the 3rd stop in a row, now over the last few days, it's doing 3,000 a day. And now these are folks who are moving into the ecosystem of the long forms. And you can see on subscribers here, we could do the last 7 days here. There we go. So look at this. It had totally flatlined in that video was not doing anything or not doing much to bring in new subscribers. But by virtue of being the 3rd stop on a new customer acquisition journey, if we're going to use fancy grown-up sounds. Oh, doggone it. All right. I'll catch you next time then, Tom. But until then, you can continue to follow along with this. But in this case, this is about as good as I could hope for, because you've got 2 showcase hops, and then it takes you into long form. And then at that point, hopefully you fall in love with the long forms and go from there. And then let's see. Here's another aspect to it. I like having these all be diversified. In general, I would prefer to not have a single hit. I like it if all of these are 4 figures, but I'll take 3 figures on each of these, including, in a meta way, this one that's happening right now. But ultimately, what I care about is, are people getting in the groove where they're able to get chunk after chunk of consistent, congruent content. One little note, here's a fun fact. I do not own that video. What? I do not own this video that is currently blowing up and exploding on Shorts. However, I am monetizing it. Why? Because that is the new reality of what YouTube wants you to do. Actually, that'd be great, actually. What do you say, RonTron418? I go live to share my wisdom these days. We call it office hours. Basically, you're welcome to ask any questions. If you have a project that you're working on, I'm happy to help. But in the meantime, mainly, this is housekeeping. This is a public service that I do to help you guys. What are you working on, RonTron418? How can I help? So, this is a fundamental rule that got changed in the YouTube algorithm. They have something called the Shorts policy. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this. Let's see. Restrictions, it says none. But you guys probably noticed that I was able to carve up almost all of the Hacking the System National Geographic TV show and put it out as 1-minute slices. The reason for that is because because as long as the content is under 1 minute long, then it automatically, whoever's claimed it, they don't care, because it does ad revenue splits. That was something they started doing about a year and a half ago on Shorts. And it was the marker when I realized, holy moly, YouTube is serious about Shorts. And so I dropped everything and started carving up 15 years back catalog of content into individual pixels because I wanted to track and see in real time where the meta went on that. And then when they switched a year ago, they said that you don't have to worry about copyrighted music. You don't have to worry about whether the content is copyrighted. So long as it fits within the Shorts policy, it will divvy up the ad revenues appropriately. Is this why some videos show as being from 2 channels? That is another new feature they're trying out, which is collaborations, which is, for example, I think we did it with Dr. Jordan Breeding, where if somebody's in the Dr. Jordan Breeding feed, then they probably would want to see an hour of him doing an interview on Modern Rogue. And you don't want to create a piece of content in the Dr. Jordan Breeding feed saying, hey, go to this other place and watch that thing. All things being equal, it'd like to show up with clearly the blessing of the creator on there. So that is the collaboration stuff. Yeah, you probably could. You probably could, Kuro Metariku. Kuro Metariku. I'm going to get better at saying that. Yeah, well, and so here's the funny part. So think of an individual feed as an individual flavor. So, for example, part of the reason that I'm comfortable putting office hours out on 2 different channels at the same time is because the Scam Nation audience is a different audience than the Modern Rogue audience. Modern Rogue is there for the present tense, ever expanding, meandering story of projects. Scam Nation almost always were there for, it's more a greatest hits and oldies station where people came in for the transactional hits, the gotcha scams and whatnot. And whereas office hours, by the way, I'm bullish. I am bullish on this tab, this live tab. YouTube is not hiding its game. If there is a tab of it, they want you to do it. Why they have a videos tab? Because they want you to make videos. Why do you think they have a shorts tab? Oh my God, we're under attack. Hold on. Hold on. There we go. Let's see. Where they at? Where my dogs at? Joy. Joy. Pippi. Bonnie. Yeah. Oh my God, Kuro Metariku is giving me sass for having missed Saturday office hours. You know what? I'll cop to it. I'll make it better. I owe you a 2 a day, which I'll tell you what, I'll do tomorrow. I love you guys. Babcat. So that YouTube is not being coy about it. Why do they have a live post? It's because they'd love you to be here and not on Twitch. Posts, they prefer you post here, not on X. Playlist, podcast, courses, promotions, collaborations. Here's the thing. The algorithm is quite simply a bunch of individual incentives that are all aligned. And to the extent that you can play all of them and keep your product consistent, that is one thing that is hard to do over 20 years. It was nearly 20 years ago that we started Scam Nation, and my heart goes out for all those people who say, I liked it back then. Me too. Welcome to what I like to call the Saturday Night Live problem. The Saturday Night Live problem. You guys ever see Quantum Leap? Quantum Leap, the dude's always hopping from time to time, all within his lifetime. So for me, it would be 50 years, right? Jumping from point to point, 1977, 1987, 1997, 2007. If I wanted to blend in at any point in that 50 years, there's one magic phrase I could say. and it would be, remember when Saturday Night Live was actually good? And at all points, everyone would agree that it used to be good, but for some reason now it's not. Of course, what's happened is people are varying levels of dialed in. And it's not until weeks after new Saturday Night Lives would come out that the good stuff would make the rounds and get shared a whole bunch. Dan Reese, it's actually even better than that. It's not even that they don't care, it's that they've actively solved the problems. For example, this music that you're hearing right now, in this case, I have permission from SynthMage to use it on the live streams, but it will also show up in the background of the short forms that I cut out of this content. But I don't have to worry about it because it's under 1 minute long. And at under 1 minute long, it does not do the whole takedown procedure, content ID. Instead, it just quietly identifies, oh, this is SynthMage's music. Let's make sure he gets a taste of that ad revenue as well. It's very kind and encouraging, to be honest. I think this is, yes. I remember when NSF Show was cool as well. By the way, I'm increasingly going to start. So, Great Night is increasingly having a presence on Mono Rogue because basically, Mono Rogue was low budget Mythbusters, and then we did low budget Mythbusters longer than actual Mythbusters did. And so now, in order to fill that content void, you're seeing everything from kind of thoughtful Brian video essays like Papyrus to long form off the cuff conversations with Andrew Heaton on Dunbar's number to, you know, the touring, the Blockbuster video and so on. We're widening the circle of basically forward, future focused content on the Mono Rogue channel. Why don't you make your own music out of AI? I've made a few songs for my channel, Road Work Daily. I have, as a matter of fact. And the incentives are aligned for long form. Now, keep in mind that borrowing of other people's copyrighted music and having it all work out in the laundry, that is not true for long forms. For long forms, it still is a big pain in the butt. And even worse, I've always tried to actually purchase my music and purchase the licenses for it. And an endemic problem is that even though I paid the $50 for a music license, some other yahoo will take that same song and claim it as something they wrote, even though they just licensed it from the same stock library that I did, and then I get the takedown on it. So that's part of the reason that I started using Udio and Suno to just sort of, you know, grumble. I mean, all things being equal, my favorite music is the music that Brant Hughes makes because it's the best. Whenever possible, yes, humans across the board. However, humans via third-party services that can be gamified are so much of a pain in the butt that the incentives become, well, if it's just going to be crummy music, then I might as well make the crummy music. But not this. This is good music. Although I suspect AI had a hand in it because SynthMage, prodigious. An album a day. That's a lot of work. That's a lot of hard rocking. Hey, G. James B. Glad you made it home safely. Ha! My first YouTube short is going to be clips of Brian telling everyone he's going live every day. Yeah, that's okay by me. That is okay. So here's the other reason I'm bullish on the live tab is not only is it the most underused. The reason it's most underused is because there are two things. Number one, it is the hardest. It is the hardest to make work. And you guys are seeing me. I still won't qualify what I'm doing as remotely good. It's barely passable. I'm now at the point. 3 months of going live every day. 1 year into building up this studio. Yeah, that's right. So 1 year ago, right now, I was still building the studio. I was probably dropping that TV. And then there's no substitute for just doing the reps. Doing the reps here. In fact, let me see. Let's see where we were 1 year ago. January 5th, 2025. Tomorrow is going to be the 1 year anniversary. Let's take a look at where we were 1 year ago. I mean, technically not as different as I would have liked, but this is 1 year ago today is when my dad came out and we started moving stuff in, moving the stage flats in, those giant heavy beasts. So you have physical infrastructure, and that alone is going to start cutting down the number of players. And then on top of that, you also have the ability to keep a stream afloat, which is its own set of things, to take questions, including the occasional hecklers or people or drive-bys. And hopefully you can handle it in a way that is not boring to your hardcore audience. No, this was, Annalisa, this was just the day. We spent all day just getting the oh, yeah, that's right. You're right. I stand corrected. Yeah, look at that. We at least got the plaque in. So we are 1 year into my commitment. We got that Founders Day plaque. If you guys don't know, that's an extremely precious artifact to me. And I love having it there because it reminds me every single day that that people believed in me, and it's up to me to make sure that I do right by them. But then, I'll tell you what, man. This didn't look exactly terrible right out of the gate. I mean, the place looked terrible. Let's see. Yeah, this is when we started messing with lighting. Eventually building out to where we are now. Oh, that's right. This is still an episode I want to do. I've wanted to do this forever. Yeah, this is basically a way to use Eulerian video magnification to be able to like see somebody's heart rate. Oh, that's hilarious, Annalisa. Yeah, that's right. Hey, thank you very much, Liam. So in this case, that brings us up to where we are now, where I guess 1 year later, we were able to build out the infrastructure for everything. We were able to... Oh, thank you so much, Maton ARNB. So this is actually the second part. This is the second part of why I'm bullish on live. Not only is it hard to do, it's extremely difficult to keep everything afloat. But so that reduces the number of competitors. And in general, whatever you're trying to do, especially if it's in the arts, you want it to be an inefficient market so that you can stand out from the crowd. If there's too many players, it's very difficult to get your voice heard. So you want fewer players because it's difficult, but also I suspect demand is going to get much bigger for two reasons. Number one, in March 2025, something huge happened. TVs, more than 50% of all YouTube traffic was streamed to a television, which means people are turning on the big screen and inviting characters into their rooms. What do they want? They don't want AI-generated waterfall. Nothing against AI. AI is a campfire. in terms of pure art, you will never do better than a campfire. It is the most gorgeous, hypnotic, interesting thing on the planet. Also, nobody gets tattoos of a random campfire. We get tattoos of the people we were standing next to when we looked at a campfire. Number two, so first of all, you got people who are inviting people into their living rooms to tell real human-centric stories. And then number two, since then, this general anxiety about what is and isn't real. Polish is cheap. You guys have heard me say this before. I am selling on polish. I am buying on authenticity. And because of that, that means rough around the edges. That means as much as I get emails for people saying like, oh my gosh, this doesn't line up correct and your layouts make my eyes bleed. Like, yeah, I'm gonna bother to make all this better, but also between you and me, I kind of love that it telegraphs instantly that there's a real human happening here. That's also the reason I'm big on the telestrator, is so that you could come in, you could walk in right at this moment and have a pretty good idea of what's going on. G. James B says, I have you on the big screen, but my iPhone has shorter latency, so I'm focused on the iPhone audio. That's pretty good. A boring sandwich wants a campfire tattoo. That'll be... That would be great if we could change the meaning of a campfire to make it tattoo worthy. Something that is is worth doing. Oh man, I really appreciate that, John Brands. You know, originally part of the whole vision with Monorogue HQ was it was a cost savings opportunity, because to bring talented people in where all the production was happening, I would have to pay for the flight out. I'd have to pay $200 a night for a hotel and then all the meals on top, and that would rack up very, very quickly. Now we're in a place where people can just come down, do a brief week, 2-week residency, and now, especially now that I'm much more bullish on authenticity and just go, and don't worry about the polish on it, I think 2026 is going to be the year, just as 2025 was the year I became prolific on live streams on YouTube, which I really feared there would be a backlash against, but luckily it's been sequestered. I think that this year we've seen, I guess what, 2024, late 2024, I took over the shorts feed and I learned to do shorts, and I kept doing shorts. 2025, I added the live feed. In 2026, I'd like to become prolific on the long form YouTube content, mainly because that's the one that people actually pay money for. Yeah, Annalisa, real quick, got to sing the praises of Annalisa. She's, we should take a tour of the Scam Shack. I'll go live from the Scam Shack later on this week. But it's a miracle. So much has been completely re-envisioned. By the way, good time to remind you guys, signup.scamstuff.com. Gear for the Monorogue. As you know, the robots trying real hard to separate us. But we don't want that. We want to stay in touch. And the only way to do that is for you to go to signup.scamstuff.com. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to get emails from me about awesome products, including stuff like our current favorites. Oh, I guess we have to introduce some new stuff, huh? The Rogues Arena is in stock. Oh, is it back to $249? We should have a secret discount phrase. Oh, that would be great. Because we did a very limited run at $99. Just JVA, you can't heckle. You're just being supportive in a strange way. Ooh, this is great. Tom Singer says that his daughter's travel blog and Instagram just launched long forms for travel videos, because you said that can be where the real money is. Yeah, the important thing, and I'm sure we talked about this, Tom, is that remember, many people lose sight of the real prize. The real prize in storytelling is the real estate you earn in other people's minds. And in order to do that, you could think of it as viewer minutes. I think of it as cycles through the three currencies. As you guys know, I think in terms of three currencies, there's story, attention, and sales. Story is subjective. Only you know the quality of your story inside of you. But then what you do is you begin with a content gift that earns you a little bit of real estate in the mind. And at first it's going to be very shallow. And you could kind of count it in terms of views, 0 to 1 million, right? But then the next time it shows up, they're going to spend a little more time with it, a little more time with it, a little more time with it. And eventually this gravity well is going to get deep enough. Here we go. That people will at first spend their time with you. Then they'll sit through ads. Then they'll buy from you. Then they'll support you. Then eventually they'll get a tattoo. And as I'm fond of saying, you're not telling a good enough story unless somebody's got a tattoo of your stuff. And that goes for if you're a business. I don't care if you fix toilets. You could do it in a way that means so much to someone, they'll get a tattoo. You could do anything, whatever your day job is, by adding and focusing on story on it, by giving the gift of not just earning their attention and then selling them something, but instead reinvesting it to tell an even bigger story. You create truly what is a virtuous cycle. And that's on the marketing side of things. That's what I explain to people, because mostly people want to go backwards on the circle. They're like, hey man, look, I got $1 million a year. I just want to purchase eyeballs. They want to go backwards on the circle, so they do the dumbest thing they could do. They go out and they buy a billboard with their name real big on it. And all those cars, every night they go to sleep, they're like, 100,000 cars drove back past my billboard and read my name. But the truth is, ain't none of them gonna get a tattoo. Ain't none of them cared about it as much as you did, convincing yourself of how important your silly billboard was. Meanwhile, whatever that amount of money was, you could have spent it telling stories. Whether it's celebrating one of your customers, whether it's telling the story of a client, whether it's telling a story of an intern who went on to start their own practice. Those are all stories that are gifts to the universe, and those would make a difference. And those do have a chance at positively, proactively affecting the world around us. And those are the kind of things where at first it'll be just a funny video, and then. Yes. There we go. This is going straight into my space company's media Bible. No tattoos, insufficient mission audience. Yes, very well put. And in fact, I have to turn that lens on myself. I have to ask myself, okay, this is whenever somebody says, sorry, not your logo, I add ... Yet, I'll earn it. I'll earn it. That's the game. But yeah, no tattoos equals insufficient mission audience. Oh, yeah. What I was going to say is I have to turn that lens on myself. For example, this piece of media where all it is how to win ring toss at the carnival. Now, the real protagonist of this video is the viewer at home. And as it should be. But hopefully they've earned just a little bit of real estate to know who Brian is. And then it'll be less weird when they see the next one, the next one, and the next one. And at some point, they'll discover on their own that there's a live tab. And maybe they'd give it a listen. And whatever, kept them company that one time. And then. When you think of all of human interaction and the marketplace of ideas as one giant soup, one big organism, a lot more makes sense in terms of figuring out how to give a gift that matters to somebody out there. Oh, yes. Just JVA says, if I get a challenge coin tattooed, does that mean you get free drinks? You better believe it. And if you move in here, you can drink all the drinks you want. This is great. Tom, give me a search term to look at. Let's take a look at their channel. This is something that a more cynical version of Brian would, I don't know. I think there are channels out there that talk about roasting channels or giving away free whatevers. I like helping people, but I don't like that grosser way to put it. Yeah, Tom and I, when we're having coffee, we talk a lot of the game is always where's the human? And you can find the human, for example, on the surface. People who don't play with ChatGPT's Sora, they do not maximizing my PTO. Here, we'll get to that in just a second. People who are pooping on Sora don't understand why AI slop belongs on their feed. The answer is abundantly clear because it's not robot initiated. The game, it's a puzzle. Every little thing that you see in Sora is one person subtexting something to another person. For example, there was a funny moment when Justin Robert Young tried like 4 times to get the bartender's attention, couldn't get it. And that was really funny. So I made a Sora and I put it out publicly, and anybody who watched it, they're like, well, I see Brian and Justin. What is this? And then they figure out all on their own, oh, this must be a reenactment of a thing that actually happened. And so it's easy to find the human on there. But let's do this. Maximizing my PTO. Oh, there we go. John Brand says, what does the BB wagon wheel get if you get it tattooed on a person? I shudder to consider, but I guess we'll find out someday. So let's do maximizing my PTO. I'm going to put that in quotes because I like to first see who they're competing with on that. So I'm going to add the word travel channel. I assume this is the right spot. And so blog is the first thing I click because I'm looking for present tense. Let's see. There we go. Instagram. So I don't know. Oh, there we go. So Bhutan. There we go. Show me Bhutan. Yes. I don't even know where that is. Wait. Oh, hey, I recognize these folks. Oh, this is great. So this is all picture-based storytelling and short form stuff. Boy, look at this. There's a lot of content in here. This is great. I was hoping for, if there's a long form video, I'm happy to look at that, but these are great vignettes. Now it got all quiet. That's funny. That's like storytelling hygiene. I don't want to affect the story by, whoa. These are great. Okay, so where do I find long forms? There we go.
Your midnights, but I'll be cleaning up bottles with you on New Year's Day. You squeezed my hand 3 times in the back of the taxi. I want your midnights, but I'll be cleaning up.
Wow, that's insane.
On New Year's Day. You
differences between Bhutanese archery and Olympic archery. One, the bow is different. Two, the target is a lot smaller. And three, the target is way further away normally. This is half distance.
So this is great. This is a good example of the kind of storytelling that I think works very, very well in this modality, because you notice that the content itself is, I assume we're going to see some archery or something, but we're immediately handed a challenge in that we're asked, we're told the difference between is, and it's like immediately my brain is engaged because I'm like, what are the differences? And then
145 meters is the normal shooting distance.
And so at this point, all I'm doing is I'm pre-winding on the anticipation of, oh my gosh, is it even going to get close? Is this going to be a funny fail, or is this going to be a good one? And of course you get that, the sensory input of the thuck, 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 thuck.
Oh, God. Also bad. Uh-oh.
That's great. Deeply satisfying.
Oh, that definitely counts.
A few key differences between Bhutanese archery and Olympic archery.
No, that's great. So we begin with a challenge, and then we went on just a little hero's journey in a very, very short amount of time. So there we go. So this also, think about it this. So you have a rich, aesthetically pleasing environment, and within 1 second, you're handed a challenge. Bhutan has no traffic lights. So in other words, if a 3-act structure is simply and, but, therefore, we begin with the but, which is what I tell people to do. So in this case, okay, the long form's on YouTube. We'll check that out. But in this case, Bhutan has no traffic lights, just vibes and this absolute icon. That is a challenge handed to the viewer at home to understand. Like right now, I cannot possibly get the joke. I don't know what the context is. So as a result, it fully engages me so that I, the viewer, the protagonist, can solve for it. That's great. And so now the voice of the artist is coming out, because the artist is the one that decided to put the song to the dance, changing the context on it. But of course, it's me, the hero, the viewer, who's enjoying putting that together. That's great. So now let's jump over to a different modality. Let's do maximizing my PTO. Excellent. Okay. And so if I knew, is there a particular, let's do this one.
Bhutan would be a super expensive.
Okay.
Everyone told me Bhutan would be a super expensive country to visit, but the real prices may be.
Yes. Can I tell you my favorite part? In the first few seconds, the moment I heard the words everyone told me, I thought, oh, good, we're about to hear a but. And then instantly we heard the but, which sets the stage for the challenge.
Told me Bhutan would be a super expensive country to visit, but the real prices may surprise you. We spent a week exploring the Kingdom of Bhutan.
Also, but the real prices may surprise you. Excellent, because you're withholding information, preserving that that mystery. You guys have seen, I've referenced this book right over here, The Power of Glamour by Virginia Postrel. There is something core and fundamental about the human mind that wants to fill in gaps. And by withholding information, I now have 2 jobs, because I want to make my guess as to how expensive it is.
Learning about local life and hiking to the famous Tiger's Nest Monastery. If you're planning a trip, know that tourism operates a little differently here, with all tourists required to have a guide.
We ended up picking Breathe Bhutan to go with for this trip, and it couldn't have gone better as far as logistics. Everything was paid for up front and then handled seamlessly throughout the trip. We never paid an entrance fee. We never paid for a restaurant. Our passports were checked in at hotels. We never had to pull them out. They checked in for our flights for us. I mean, they made it really, really easy. And also driving here would be insane. These roads are not for the weak. And I'm so, so grateful that we had an excellent driver the whole time. I'm gonna break down exactly what we spent on this trip, because I think Bhutan gets a rep of being a really expensive place to visit. And I think
So it doesn't look like we have analytic data. If I was gonna guess, I would guess right there is where you're gonna see a dip, because at this point, I've already figured out that hopefully you're gonna tell me what it costs, because you already teased it at the beginning. And then this part, you might kind of be saying the same thing a second time.
So first of all, Bhutan does have a sustainable tourism fee that they charge all tourists. So it's $100 per person per day that you're in the country. And
okay, so this is also, remember that the role of protagonist in YouTube rules, which are different than other storytelling rules, but in YouTube rules, you got to figure out a way to keep the protagonist as the viewer. So if you want to convey this exact same thing, you can give them an on-ramp by saying, some people think, or some people ask me, is this fee a scam? So granted, I'm just now learning about the fee, but and this skepticism is attributed to nobody in particular, and is a made-up person or whatever. But then it was like, oh my gosh, yeah, is it a scam? And then the answer could be
so
no.
that can obviously make it sound like it's going to be very, very expensive. So here's the exact breakdown. The STF costs $600 per person for our trip here. I guess it's based on number of nights you're here. Our flights, which were included in our package from Bangkok, so Bangkok to Paro and back.
This is great. The B-roll, the rhythm hitting the groove in there. It's like at this point, my brain has already auto-completed like, oh my God, I'm going to see numbers go up and I'm going to keep on seeing rich visuals.
Were $940, so those were pretty expensive. There are only 2 airlines that fly into Bhutan, and they're both Bhutanese airlines.
We were able to use points to cover all of our flights to Bangkok, and we were all flying from totally different places. So for the purposes of this video, I've just included the cost that we paid Breathe Bhutan directly.
Our visa processing fee was $40.
So that also, that artifact of very clearly a different take and a different mic, that would have 5 or 10 years ago been a marker of lower quality, less professional. I would have bristled at that, but now I am bullish on it. Everybody's media savvy now, and all those serve to do is prove to me that it ain't a robot thing. Ain't a robot thing, ain't a robot thing. I'm selling on polish, buying on authenticity.
Vehicle, guide, driver, and meals altogether per person, that was $1,137. Entrance fees to various sites, $75. Cycling was $40, and in hindsight, we never should have done that. But you live and learn. Come away with some bruises if you're Thomas.
Oof.
Oh, I know this story.
You also had the option to stay at nicer properties than the ones included in the base price. So 3 of the properties we stayed at had supplemental fees, and that came out to an extra $175 a person total. And then there was a wire transfer charge for the whole payment that was just $50 for the group. So in total, that came out to $3,057, which is not inexpensive, of course, but in terms of how much we spent on other comparable trips and what you get for that cost, I think it is very in line with what you would expect and not overly priced.
Hopefully this helps. Let me know in the comments if you have any other questions. Be sure to also check out our full video of our week in Bhutan to understand what makes this such a special country to visit.
This is great. This is really, really great. The pacing's great. This is excellent introductory material that gives a good flavor of it. The only suggestions that I'd have, the only things that I look for that I don't see right off the bat are, I suspect, as you mentioned, Tom, this is a new area, a new area to move into as far as doing long forms on there. A statement to bring people up to speed. For example, some number of people are showing up just now, seeing this, saying, what is this? Hello, welcome to Office Hours. That's where I make myself available and I take questions and help people for free. You're welcome. In this case, we're talking about the ingredients for a successful YouTube channel, one of which is the all-important called shot. Think about that Babe Ruth moment. You want that called shot where he's pointing out in the stands or whatever. You want a clarifying statement that's hopefully easy to say and repeat that is perfunctory. Welcome to Scam School, the only show dedicated to social engineering at the bar and on the street. What does that convey? That conveys you have a terrible problem. You don't know how to drink for free at the bar. That's what we're going to do. Episode after episode, we're going to show up and get closer and closer to that goal. Welcome to Modern Rogue. We're on a quest to become the ultimate gentleman, warrior, and scoundrel rolled into one. If Houdini, James Bond, and MacGyver had a baby, this would be it. So again, that's a very clear mission statement that is anchoring, and they know why they're on this. So the most I could think of is not the first words out of the mouth because this is such a good opening.
Everyone told me Bhutan would be a super expensive country to visit, but the real prices may surprise you. We spent a week exploring the Kingdom of Bhutan, learning about local...
So that's where I'd put it. That opening statement is super strong, and if I had a wish, it would only be that we would cut to a stand-up of saying exactly what's being said there, but just sneak in there. It could be as simple as you guys know, we're, or as part of our quest to maximize our PTO, for us, maximizing our PTO means whatever it is, figure out a way to imply the road behind and the road ahead so that it's easy for the audience to fall into line and fake singing along with the song. That's part of the reason pop music is so popular, is because it's so easy to predict when that beat's about to drop, when that chorus is about to come back. This is great stuff, Tom. I'm very excited. Here, let me, a bloop, subscribed. What? Not possible while using permissions. All right, I'll subscribe over on this other computer. Done and done. If you guys have something that you'd like some help on, I'd be happy to take a look at it. Hit me up at brian@shua.com. Better yet, sign up for the email. The robots are trying to divide us. The last bastion of non-algorithmic, non-curated interaction is on email. Signup.scamstuff.com. That's where you want to be. And then we could be in touch on that. Although the algorithms are creeping in there as well. If you don't open them, then it starts to not showing it. Ooh, excellent. Good deal. All right, I got dogs outside waiting, and I think I'm past an hour already. So I'm going to have to call it. Let's check the agenda real quick. I think First Hit Explain, we did that. More importantly, I skipped to the what do you do with that? Because sometimes you get a hit and you're like, that's neat. So what you want to do is when all of a sudden you find out that company is coming over for dinner, you stage the place for everybody to arrive. So in this case, I made sure that the video that one linked to was more content similar to the popular video that was exploding. And then at the end of that video, I made sure that one was linked to a bit of long form content that is approachable to that kind of audience. Oh, that's great. House music slowly lets the next song bleed in before the drop so that even novelty feels like nostalgia. It's what makes the brain set on fire when it happens. Yeah, absolutely. All right. How can Brian help with my channel? You just got to ask. A new story format. I'm going to hold that. That's a radio tease. Ooh, a radio tease. I think I figured out an unexplored realm to extract stories. If you guys like World's Greatest Con, I'll have more on that. I have updates on the zine, including a possible printing press. And then that's it. All right. Love you guys. I'll see you next time tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. sharp. You guys are the best.